Hi everyone, Elle here from Grounded Health. I lost my voice due to allergies, so hopefully y'all can hear me. But I wanted to hop on and walk through this week's blog post. This week we're talking about polyvagal theory. Polyvagal theory is a theory that has been around since the 1990s, and in a lot of ways it's become so commonplace. These things that talked about are more intuitive to us now than they were at the beginning. But basically, Stephen Porges, one of the researchers at Indiana University, was trying to find a way to connect what was happening in our nervous systems, particularly the vagus nerve, which kind of like runs through here, with our social behavior, our problems, our mental illnesses. So he found a way to connect it using polyvagal theory. And basically what it looks at is the idea that our nervous system is reacting to threats or perceived threats in our environment. And so back in the day, when thousands and thousands of years ago, would have been a tiger is coming to attack us. So we might run away from the tiger, flight, we might fight the tiger, fight, or we might freeze and shut down so that the tiger doesn't see that we're there and continues to move on. Now, these strategies, of course, have continued, even though we're not really running into tigers as much anymore, but we might run into it as a stressful email from our boss or something like that. And we might have that fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And actually of note, we've actually added in fawn, which is more people-pleasing, which I will discuss later. And I actually think there was another one I heard recently too that I'm faint maybe, but I'm gonna have to check. People just keep adding ones to these. So basically that's polyvagal theory. This blog post is gonna relate polyvagal theory to the TV show Friends. I was born in the 80s, but I grew up in the 90s, and I remember watching Friends live on NBC. I was a huge fan of the show growing up. So I talk about the 3 states the polyvagal theory mentioned in the context of Friends. The first one I talked about was the ventral vagal state. That is the theory's sort of center. So that's when you're in your optimal zone, you're relaxed, you're able to make rational decisions, you feel balanced. And I used the example of Joey and Phoebe's relationship, especially in the episode where Phoebe's pregnant with the twins and she really is craving meat, but she's a vegetarian. So Joey makes a conscious effort to help his friend by giving up his portion of meat to Phoebe. And so I thought that was a good example of the ventral vagal state because there's connection, it's pro-social, they're there for each other, but no one's resenting each other, and they're getting their needs met. The next example would be the sympathetic state. That's like that anxious, irritable, frustrated, aggressive state. And in that one, I put the very infamous fight between Monica and Rachel over Jean-Claude Van Damme. You remember that episode because they are flicking each other in the forehead. At one point, they're pouring marinara in purses, the sweater's getting unraveled, and they're physically fighting until Phoebe breaks them up. So that sympathetic state is Monica and Rachel fighting over Jean-Claude Van Damme. It's very easy for that to get away from us and escalate very quickly. And then the third state, the dorsal vagal state, I related to Chandler Bing. Chandler, there's so many episodes where Chandler is just sitting in a chair depressed. I put in the blog about the arc with Kathy when Joey's dating Kathy and Chandler falls in love with her. And at first he's lovelorn and depressed. And then when they end up getting together and then they end up breaking up, his phase 1, the sweatpants phase, would also be dorsal vagal. It's that immobility, that shut down, depression, hopelessness, dissociation, numbness. And those are both really common reactions. So that's fight, flight, or freeze. Well, fight and flight go together in the sympathetic, and then freeze is dorsal vagal. So hopefully that helps this theory make some sense. This has definitely been a very powerful theory for me to understand. Of course, it's not without its naysayers and things like that, but I think it's a really powerful theory to start to understand how somatic practices work and how our brains and our bodies are connected, because in the world we live in, it's very easy to think that they're separate, but they're not. They're very interconnected. So hopefully that helps you understand polyvagal theory a little bit further, and keep your eyes peeled. I linked below the previous post I've made on somatic healing, as well on attachment theory, which I've already posted about, relating attachment theory to 90s and early 2000s rom-coms. And I'm going to continue doing this. Up next will probably either be sensory motor psychotherapy or somatic experiencing. So stay tuned.